Who is it amongst us whose family doesn't take a toll? Who doesn't bear the signs of wear, born not from hostile land, but from the home? Just like the aspects of family life it so diligently portrays, Bound juxtaposes an inherent elegance and grace against a roughness and harshness that is nonetheless just as intrinsic. Plastic are unabashedly forthright in depicting their titles as non-games, so it's crucial that what players take from Bound's gameplay design is meaning and inspiration rather than challenge and skill. Whether time alone allows players to untangle another idea dangled in front of them, or whether they find epiphany in its winding paths, often platforming skills are at the very periphery of the player's attention. With this in mind, Bound gets much correct. Movement is fluid and light, animation is detailed and unique, and its level design is bright, colourful, and imaginative. These are indeed important factors in a traditional platformer, but are also elements that are pivotal tools for Bound to subtly convey its themes, providing interesting metaphor for what it imparts more directly. By watching your character sweep through obstacles with poise and clear chasms with unexpected composure, it's clear that tackling Bound's hazards with a steadfast commitment to one's principles, no matter where such adversity is born, is of crucial importance. Not to mention the centrality of finding a passion to insulate you from these pressures. Such are the contemplative routes that Bound sets you down, granting players ample opportunity to meditate in awe of its unconventional vistas and pensive ambient soundtrack. These are Bound's highest points, crafting a comfortable venue for reflection that can be gently influenced by revelation in its framing devices and paced by external intrigue in its Penrose stairs and bright cubic horizons. Though Bound never finds itself too rigidly tied to traditional platforming, this is still its greatest downfall. Unfortunately for Bound, there are times when these lines become too blurred, and its shortcomings as a platformer can't be ignored. From a substantive perspective, despite its best attempts to engage players throughout, the attention awarded to such epiphany is unfortunately not as concentrated as it ultimately should be, leaving players a little too much room to breathe, and thus it seems fair to subject Bound to criticisms of a lack of moment-to-moment challenge. Moreover, there's a degree of tedium in the animation. As awe-inspiring as it is to watch these acrobatic exploits, it's never possible to navigate levels with a satisfying sense of alacrity, often stymied by out-of-place obstacles or charge-up moves that feel too tiresome. Though it errs on this side to ensure a contemplative pace, Bound never tosses out ideas that will take hours to unpack. Rather, it's the appreciatively involved means it brings you to such ideas that stands out. Either way, players will never feel rushed during reflection, so it seems fair that Bound would benefit from being slightly condensed. On a more straightforward basis, what minor platforming elements are found are a touch lackluster and eventually problematic. Platforming is imprecise, success is too binary, and when applied to many obstacles, Bound's movements feel stiff and unnatural. What it presents is more a test of immediate recognition rather than importing enough skill to adjust and react, and erring at an obstacle always results in failure. These problems are mostly a hindrance and feel like unfortunate disruption rather than minor challenging distraction, though its errors are thankfully not so common as to be blaring. Finally, it's oftentimes distressingly overt storytelling tools are sometimes at odds with the subtlety that Bound attempts to convey elsewhere. In a game that prioritizes epiphany, it would perhaps be better to grant players a little more credit than it does. Though it must be said that perhaps these are more concerns of budget than substance, which are entirely excusable. Bound culminates in a way that is quite enlightening, carrying the notion of choice to an interesting and fulfilling conclusion. In the end, Bound's flaws seem largely ancillary, and though it may not be concentrated enough to hold players firmly throughout, the introspection it does encourage is ultimately worthwhile.